Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Joseph Martin. Hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel and hit that bell icon to receive notifications. I'm sure you've heard someone say, well, you know, they don't teach us that in school. This is usually the reply when someone is introduced to new information that they weren't taught in the educational system. I would argue that this isn't to identify or explain that there's an education issue, but to explain away their lack of seeking information to become educated. In other words, the responsibility of educating them is the traditional school systems, not theirs. So if they don't know something, it's the school's fault. The school system does not have a monopoly on education, and being educated is your own responsibility. Because if you leave it up to someone else to educate you, you're only going to know what they want you to know. Which brings us to our topic for today, the danger of schools teaching everyone to be employees. There are behaviors and methods that are taught in school that limit our resourcefulness to find solutions when it comes to solving problems, which is why it's so important for us to understand if we have an employee or a business mindset. A business mindset looks to find customers to solve their problems. An employee mindset looks to find employment to solve their own financial problems. School never teaches us to go look for customers. They always teach us to go look for a job. A business is not in the business of providing goods and or services. Businesses are in the business of solving problems. Here's a few examples. If you're hungry and limited on time and need a quick and affordable meal, that's a problem. What's the solution? Fast food restaurant. If your car's dirty on the inside and the outside and you want it cleaned, that's a problem. What's the solution? Get it detailed. Just want to have someone else clean the outside and you vacuum it yourself? Go to a car wash. Your stomach is upset and you're in pain and you can't figure out what it is. That's a problem. What's the solution? Go to an emergency room or urgent care. The how or what the business provides as a solution would be the goods and or services. Remember, when I said that there were behaviors and methods that are taught in school that limit our resourcefulness to find solutions when it comes to solving problems, here's the first limitation. You have to do the work yourself and show your work as in how you did it or how you do it. This would be something that would be required of an employee, not a business. So if you have been taught for 13 years, all work had to be done by you specifically and show exactly how you did it, what would be the chances of you starting your own business? I believe that school is not in the business of educating us. They're training us to follow directions or there will be consequences. Let's use the subject of math because this seems to be a subject that is common for people to struggle with and openly admit it. Also is one of the subjects where teachers insist that showing your work is necessary. The assignment is 2-digit multiplication, problems like 30 times 10. The first rule is that you have to answer the question yourself without any tools. And the second rule is you have to show your work, the how you did it. If you don't know the answers at that moment with those rules, you are guaranteed to fail. And if you knew it was 300, you couldn't just say it. You need to write it down and walk the teacher through how you solved it. Carry here, move this 0, etc., etc. If you were to ask someone to answer, use a calculator, pay someone else to give you the answer, or even do the assignment for you in school, that would be cheating. On top of you being told that it was cheating, the teacher wouldn't even accept the work at all, so it would never be graded. In the real world, such as business, not school, none of this would be the case. And it would be a brilliant strategy under the terms leverage and delegation. What do I mean? I'm glad you asked. If you use the calculator to solve the problems, it would be a form of leverage, which is simply a way of doing more with less. Thinking about all the answers to solve the 40 questions in your head, for example, would take you 45 minutes, but using a calculator only takes 5. Keep in mind that the calculator doesn't show how it solves the problem. it just solves it. Delegation is hiring or having someone else do the work for you, which frees you to do something else with that time. It does not, and I repeat, it does not free you from the responsibility of the work, which is important. You even notice how when a student asked another student to do the work for them or what the answer was, they always seem to ask the smartest one they could find. In business, this is a valuable skill. This is a perfect example of hiring the right person for the job. Let's go to one of my favorite businesses to use for an illustration to prove my point. Let's say I started a landscaping business and I'm knocking door to door looking for customers or potential clients, which is the same thing. And someone hires me as in my business, to be responsible for cutting their grass every Thursday before 6 p.m. Do you really think they are going to tell me I cheated if they see someone else besides me taking care of their lawn if they represent my business? Absolutely not. And if they do a horrible job, my business, which is me, is still going to be held responsible for the poor job. The same way my business would be praised if that employee or contractor did an excellent job, which means the work counted. This would be equal to being graded in school. Let's revisit some key points about this example. Did the client need to be home to see me or know how the grass was cut? No, which means you didn't have to show your work. The work just had to be done. Next, the grass didn't have to be cut personally by you, just on your behalf, and the work had to be correct or exceed expectations. The traditional school system punishes us for taking actions like this to solve problems. This is why I believe showing your work is just to make sure we're trained to follow directions to a T. The main philosophy taught in the traditional school system is needing a job to earn a living versus becoming so good at solving people's problems, they're willing to pay you for it. This immediately puts you in front of a customer asking, how can I help you? Instead of in front of an employer asking, will you hire me? Next is training you to believe that all answers have to exist in your head at that moment, and all work has to be done personally by you. This is only true when it comes to the all work has to be done by you as the employee. You can't apply for a job, get hired, and send someone else in the work for you as an employee. If you were smart enough of thinking of even doing something like that, you would have the mindset of a business owner, because you can only do this as a business. And as an employee, not all jobs require you to have all the answers with you right then. In some cases, you'll have time to find the answers, but you will only be able to do that if you've learned the skill of being resourceful, which is something school is limiting you from fully developing, because you're trained to believe that you can't outsource any of your work. In the real world, these people go by many names like assistants. The school even has assistant principals. The head of the school has an assistant, and the head of this country, the president of the United States, has a vice president. Success leaves clues, guys. We just have to pay attention and look for them. Another thing about this is that some of the most successful people who ever started their own business dropped out of school. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs founded two of the most successful companies in the world. I believe that these two mindsets need to be acknowledged and studied because they show up in the behavior of students naturally and at a young age, and then are often suppressed. The general ed and special ed are the known options for students. One is for students who can keep up with the program, and the other is for students who find it to be a challenge. But for those students who refuse to get with the program, they are placed in the unspoken category of a troublemaker or a disruption to the classroom for asking too many questions instead of simply following directions. Now let's talk about all or nothing. Remember how we discussed cheating, and if the teacher catches you, they won't even grade it? This is something else that isn't something businesses follow. The employee mindset has an all or nothing approach that they could have learned from school. You do all the work yourself, or it counts for nothing. The zero you'll get for the teacher refusing to grade it. But a business mindset has an all or something approach. If you've ever tried to cancel a subscription or a service, you've likely experienced a business using this strategy to keep you as a customer. If they're making $60 a month from you and they just let you walk away, now they make nothing. But if they offer you the same services at $30 for 6 months and you stay, that's something. So instead of them making nothing and possibly losing you as a customer forever, they keep you for 6 more months making $180, which is another great way of reducing your expenses without totally losing your subscription or service, even if it's temporary. Let's go a little deeper and back to our landscaping business. When I first started that business, and I'm knocking door to door and cutting the grass myself, I get to keep 100% of those profits. Great, right? Wrong. Because since I'm only one person, there's only so much that I can do. But if I hire 5 people to cut grass for my business and keep 20% of what I usually charge for the work, I'll make 100% of what I was making when I cut 1 yard myself without having to cut a single yard. Here's a visual just to drive this point home so you can see what that looks like. Employee mindset, you make 100% of 1 yard's profit by doing 100% of the work. Business mindset, you make 100% of 1 yard's profit by doing 0% of the work and keeping 20% of 5 yards. Here's another point you might be missing. Doing all the work yourself has limits. But if you own the business and you want to earn more money, you have a few options. You could take a larger percentage. You could raise prices for what you charge for the yards, or you can simply get more customers and do more yards. Employees would only have 2 options. They could ask for a raise, or they could get another job. The business mindset is what is called scalable. You can increase your profits by growing the business. The employee mindset is both limited by time and the opportunity itself. If the employee is being paid based off hours, there are only so many working hours the company has available. The other is that there's only so many hours in a day. Since employees aren't directly linked to the customer, they have no say over price, wage, and growth. So the employee would always need to ask for some type of permission from an authority in the business, which brings me back to the traditional education system of always having to ask for permission from an authority for something as basic as going to the bathroom. Does the principal ask for permission to go to the bathroom? What about the business owner? I don't mean in certain situations. I mean every time they need to go. If the business owner wanted to raise prices, they wouldn't have to ask. If you were being technical, that would depend on the structure or the type of business. I get that. But for the sake of just comparing an employee to a business, not a business to another type of business, I'm just keeping it simple. And last but not least, the thing that you do gets easier as you grow, not harder. This is really important, and I want you to grasp it. In the traditional school system, as you advance at each level, things get harder and harder. In the real world, this is only true when it comes to being an employee. The first reason for this is because the school has us focusing on advancement, not growth. Well, what's the difference? I'm glad you asked. Advancement is more responsibility, but growth is developing the skills to handle more responsibility. A huge difference. When you advance in a job, they give you the responsibility first, and then they train you to give you the skills to handle it. Every level you advance to, you're rewarded with more work. So that next level begins extremely hard for you. But when you're focused on growth, everything you do while you're working or becoming better at it becomes easier. Remember, business mindsets use leverage and they delegate. So as they grow, they have more responsibility with less work. That responsibility is more of monitoring or looking over what's going on and staying in the know with their business and focusing on strategy so they can identify potential problems and address them quickly to keep the business running smoothly. Think of a business as an apple tree. As it grows, it naturally absorbs more sunlight and produces more apples. Is there more sunlight than there was before? No, but it's more tree for it to absorb more sunlight. You can't promote the tree and expect it to produce more apples. It has to grow first. It becomes easier for the tree to be an apple tree as it grows. Here's something that I want you to understand. Having a business mindset is not better than having an employee mindset. And I also did not say that having an employee mindset is better than having a business mindset. The most important thing is understanding the mindset that you have. I'm sure you've heard some people are natural born leaders, but I'll be willing to also assume that you have never heard that someone was born a natural follower. But I ask you this, what's a follower without a leader? And what's a leader without a follower? What's an employee without a business to work for? And what's a business without any employees? These aren't meant to be seen as negative or positive or better or worse because they need one another. The issue isn't the mindset itself. The issue is being in the wrong role for your mindset. You might believe you're a horrible employee when you have the mindset of an owner of a business. Or you could feel there's something wrong with your business when in fact you have the mindset of an employee. And you could be wildly successful as in earning a lot of money by having either mindset, but thriving with it in the right position and or environment. So what type of mindset do you have? Do you have an employee mindset or do you have a business mindset? And you can always work on yourself to develop the mindset you want. You already know. I hope that you learned something and I hope that you earned something. Hit that like button and put your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you check out the other two channels, Original Greatness Uncut and Original Greatness Shorts. And if you want to understand why women earn more money than men and what you can work on to increase your income, check out this next video. Take care and God bless.